Hello everyone, it's Sierra, aka Naturally Nefertiti, back with another video, baby. So, welcome back to my Let's Talk Women's Health series. Today's video is a story time. One of the most embarrassing stories that I have ever experienced, told, relived, and it has to do with tampons. So, when I was younger, I loved swimming. I loved the water. I used to want to be on the swim team. I wanted to be a lifeguard, this, that, and the other. So, my freshman year, I took a junior lifeguard course where basically we learned how to be lifeguards. And my period was coming, and so I asked the instructor, hey, can I sit out of the pool for a couple days because I'm going to be on my period. So at this time I was 13 years old and had just started my period maybe like the year before. And so I was new to the whole, menstrual cycle thing, and I was like, I can't get in the water, I'm gonna be on my period. And she was an older black woman, and she was like, just wear a tampon. And I was like, huh? I had never ever worn a tampon. I was like pads only. So I went back home and I told my mom, and she was like, well, I guess we're gonna go buy you some tampons. So we bought a box of tampons. The next day I brought it to the park district where we were doing the junior lifeguard course. And it's time for us to get changed, get in the pool, open up the box, pull out a tampon. Didn't read the instructions, had no idea what I was doing, and I put it in. Me, a 13-year-old, not knowing what I was doing, I was like, this plastic tube thingy, what do I do with this? So I just left it inside of me. I left the applicator inside. So I pushed it up as far as it could go, and then I put my swimsuit on and I went out. And so I literally was walking around with a little plastic applicator inside of me. I was so uncomfortable. I literally did my little exercises in the water, and then I immediately got out. I tried to sit down and it hurt so bad because I literally have a plastic tube inside of me. So I just stood up the entire time. I was so uncomfortable. I was didn't know what to do. I was like, how do people wear tampons? This is not it. I'm never wearing a tampon again. And the day was over. So I go back into the locker room to change, and I'm like, this can't be right. This can't be right. And so I look at the instructions, and it says remove the applicator. And I'm like, Sierra, you idiot. And so I take the applicator out, and I'm trying to remove the tampon. It says, pull the strings. And I'm like, what strings? I'm digging around and I can't feel any strings. And I'm like, okay. What do I do? I'll just wait until I get home and I'll ask how long. So I'll go back home. I'm at my grandma's house at this point, and my mom is coming to pick me up. And I go back into the bathroom, I'm like, let me try one more time. And so again, I stick a finger in there and I'm feeling around, and I can feel the tampon, but I can't feel any strings. And so I'm like, okay, I'll just try to grab the tampon. And so I'm trying to grab the tampon, and I cannot get it. And I'm starting to panic now. I'm like, oh my God, I'm never gonna be able to get this out. What am I gonna do? My fingers aren't long enough to grab the tampon out. So mom comes, and I'm like, mommy, I can't get this tampon out. And she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I can't find the strings. I can feel it, but it's too far up for me to get it. And my mom has never worn tampons either. So she's like, okay, I'll try, because her fingers are longer, I guess. And so this is so embarrassing. I lay down on the bed, put my underwear down, and my mom sticks her fingers up my vagina to try to get the tampon out. So she's like, I feel it. And I was like, okay, yeah, pull it out. And she's like, I can't. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I can't pull it out either. And so now we're both starting to panic because we literally cannot get this tampon out. And so mom's like, we're gonna have to go to the hospital. And I start crying. I was like, no, I don't want to go to the hospital. She's like, Sierra, we can't leave the tampon in there and neither one of us can get it out. So we're gonna have to go to the hospital because they're gonna have to use something to get this tampon out. And so I'm like boohoo crying. We get in the car, we go to the emergency room. Again, I'm 13 years old, my first time ever wearing a tampon, and I end up at the emergency room. So we go up to the little receptionist, front desk person, triage, and she's like, how can I help you? My mom's like, my daughter has a tampon stuck inside of her. And so I'm just like crying and like so embarrassed, trying not to like let anybody see me. And she's like, okay, go and wait. So she signs us in, whatever, and we wait. We're waiting in that emergency room for at least like 2 hours before we get seen. We go back to like one of the little rooms, and a resident comes in, like a young woman resident, tell her what happened. So she, you know, puts a glove on, lubes up her finger, and like goes up in there. And she's like, I feel it as well. She tries to grab it out, can't grab it. She goes to get some kind of like tool and like kind of like a, looks like a long tweezer, and she can't get it out with that either. So she's like, okay, we're gonna have to use a speculum. So I didn't know what a speculum was at that time, but you know, it's the little the tool that goes in like this, and then they crank it open, and it you know, like opens up like that to like make your vagina wider. They usually use it to like visualize the cervix during like a pap smear or pelvic exam. So 13-year-old me has a speculum inside of her, and the doctor was like, oh my God. And we're like, what? And she's like, the tampon is literally in your vagina sideways. That's why you couldn't feel the strings, and that's why it was so difficult for us to pull it out. So with the speculum, which opens up my vagina, she can see the tampon. She gets the little tweezer thingy, pulls it out, and I'm like so relieved, and still obviously very embarrassed that we had to go to the ER to get this taken out. And after that, I was like, I will never ever wear a tampon again. It was so traumatic, all because I wanted to be a junior lifeguard. So I only had like a couple more weeks left in the course, and kind of after that experience, I didn't really want to do like the whole like lifeguard thing. I was like, if I'm ever on my period, I don't want to be in water because I don't want to wear a tampon. And then the next day I went to school, and I had told my friends like, oh, I'm at the emergency room, I had a tampon stuck inside of me. And so the next day I get to school, and one of my male friends comes up to me and was like, Sierra, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, what are you talking about? He was like, I heard you had to go to the emergency room, you had a tampon stuck inside of you. I'm just like, who told you that? And he was like, Jaira told me. And I'm just like, now the whole fucking school damn near knows that I had a tampon stuck inside of me. And yeah, still to this day, some of my friends, we laugh about it. Cause, you know, obviously now I've grown out of the whole like I'll never wear a tampon thing again. Maybe a couple years later, when I was like 15, I learned how to properly insert a tampon and kind of never look back. And when you know how to insert it the right way, they're very comfortable, and you like literally don't know it's there. But I feel like a lot of young women do not learn how to properly insert a tampon. They learn by trial and error. They learn from their friends. Very seldomly do do the adult women in their family teach them that. And I don't know, I kind of want to change that stigma against tampons, specifically in the Black community, that, you know, tampons are for grown women, that young women can't use them or they're afraid to use them. So yeah, that's my story time, and stay tuned for part 2 where I will teach you how to properly insert a tampon. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you laughed, enjoyed this awkward, embarrassing story time, and let me know in the comment section below what you use when you are on your period, when you're menstruating. Right now, I use a menstrual cup, so check out my first video in this series where I talk about my experience with the Honey Pot menstrual cup. Very seldomly do I use tampons. I don't use pads anymore at all. But yeah, let me know in the comment section what you use. Do you free bleed, tampons, pads, menstrual cup, menstrual panties, disc? So many options out there. Let me know what you use. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for part 2 and other videos. Love you guys.